Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Showbox Sires series of the evolution of the great cow. I'm Tim Abbott, the host of this podcast series, and we have an exciting bull to release today. A new bull from Semex, our partners in Canada, 744 HO00203 Judge, a bull that Mike and I are quite excited about, and we're going to involve the breeders of the bull to talk about Judge as we go through the morning.
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to introduce Gus Schwartzbeck and Austin Schwartzbeck to talk a little bit about the cow family behind Judge this morning. Give you a little information on this cow family, how we feel he'll work in your herds, and what we should use him on.
It's great to have the guys from Peace and Plenty with us. We're going to start our discussion with them, Mike, today, and by asking Gus, tell us a little about Peace and Plenty Farm and what it looks like today. How many acres, how many cows? Tell us a little about Peace and Plenty, Gus.
We're more or less a family farm. We do have several employees, but we farm an awful lot of ground. We farm about 1,500 acres. We milk 260 cows. We run a pile of heifers. We got heifers stashed everywhere. Like I said, it's pretty much a family dairy. Davis and Austin make a lot of decisions with the cows now. Since Austin came back from school and Davis has been here since he graduated from school. I kind of them do their own thing, and they've done a pretty decent job here lately. Not that my father and mother are still very involved, but they had things lined up pretty good too. I mean, when I got out of high school, Dad, he let me go on and breed the cows, mate the cows. So I got started out with a nice group of cows to work with, and I think my boys have too. We try to, cow comfort's a big thing here. We do like the show. We don't go to Madison very often. It's just a long ways and it costs a lot of money, but we try to compete well here in the East, and I think we do a pretty good job.
Well, it's great to have you here, Gus, and we'll talk to your sons as well. If this podcast was 6 hours long, we'd get all your wives involved too, guys, because I know they're a big part of the operation, but we don't have that many days for this podcast, right?
That's right.
I did forget to mention my mom and my wife. They're both very big in this business. Mom takes care of a lot of the billing, and my wife, Lisa, she manages about everything on some days, but she does do an awful good job with the calves. So Austin's wife, Lauren, is here from time to time. She's a school teacher, but she's here a fair amount, and she really enjoys working with the show heifer.
Hey, Austin, if you would, tell us a bit about Jubie's family. I know we were lucky enough to buy Jubie 16 a couple of years ago after she had left you guys and went on a journey around the United States before coming to us. If you could just go back, talk a bit about the Jubie family for us.
As of now, we have 53 daughters so far directly out of Jubilant herself, and still just a couple embryos left in the tank from her last IVF. And then after that, it'll be the last of the direct descendants. When you get past that, there's probably pushing 100 that go back to Jubie now, whether 2, 3, 4 generations out. So you find them just about everywhere you look on our farm. There's a J name, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of them all, but we try our best to. So yeah, there's everywhere you look. I guess we're trying to take certain daughters and find different lines from that family and kind of do more IVF work and stuff from ones that are turning out to be the best of the bloodlines.
Well, certainly last year was a big year for the Jubie family in the show ring with Jubie 16 getting nominated here. But you guys also had quite a few nominations on animals that you've sold in sales and animals that you own. How many nominations did you have last year?
I believe the total, not that we exhibited ourselves, but ones we exhibited and bred, there was 6 nominations last year. Carried our prefix, which was, right out, all our prefix right out of the Jubie family. And it was astounding to say the least. It was, a proud day for a breeder, any breeder, and especially for us, for ones we've sold to people and get another Produce a Dam nomination now. And just really proud moment for all of us. Not only get your name mentioned once, but 6 times it was outrageous.
Yeah, quite an accomplishment. And I've often told people that when you go to Peace and Plenty, if you're looking at the calves, more than likely some of the fancier calves are going to say Jubie. Then you look at the yearling heifers, more than likely they're going to say Jubie. And then when you get to the young cows and older, you always see Jubie. So it's family's done you guys a great job.
I don't know that there is a breeding herd in the country with any more success than Peace and Plenty last year for sure. Gus, how did this family come to Peace and Plenty? Like, where'd the family start? How did it get going?
So the Earharts, years and years ago, those Earharts, they had an old cow. She was sired by a bull named Clipper, and they drug her to every 4-H show in the state of Maryland. Didn't matter what stage of lactation, just a great big old frame cow that was really nice. And they didn't do a whole lot of merchandising. So they put this Dundee calf that went back to her in the state sale, and Austin was itching to buy something. He was pretty young. And I left him bid. Well, I thought he quit bidding, but he didn't. He got her, and it wound up being a great thing. But this Dundee calf, which would be the Atwood's dam, Austin bought. We got her home as a calf, and she was a fine calf. The worst problem is she didn't get to live long enough to be her potential. She was an awful good. Dundee worked well for us, and there was a lot of nice Dundees in the area. But she didn't get the opportunity to live long enough to become an incredible old cow like I think she was going to. And that's a terrific family there behind her too. Maybe the cows weren't scored as high as they actually were. But anyway, that's how it come about. Austin bought her, and he was just a little boy, and he was tickled, and we got her home. And the first time we ever IVF here was her, and we did her to Ocaliber, and that turned out really good too. So she had 6 Ocaliber daughters, and they all 6 went excellent, and 6 went excellent. That's right. That's how we wound up with the Atwood. We bred that Dundee, that Atwood, and I come home from Madison one year, all them good Atwoods out there, and I said, well, it's a bull we got to go use, and we used him pretty well, and he did work pretty well for us. So,
do you remember what you paid for the calf?
I think we give $18.50 for her, and I told Austin to quit at 17.
We're going to talk about what's going on next spring, guys, and we're all done talking about stopping bidding, Gus, right? That's the moral of this story.
Well, Austin, obviously, the Atwood, she's probably bred as true of any cow in the breed in the show world, and making great cows consistently for you guys. What's been some of the best matings on her, and what have you liked the most out of the daughters?
The Doc, obviously. We flushed her there to Doc, and the daughters out of her, I think, averaged 93.5 points out of the 4 or 5 of the Docs. Is it 5 of them? That the original one with Ocaliber, going back in time a little bit, out of those 7, 6 of them went excellent. Out of those 6, I think 5 of them were 93 or more. But then here, Sidekick, that's another one. I've always loved my Sidekick heifers. Really love my Sidekick cows. Really worked well with Jubie, and got a Sidekick now that last year our Sidekick was we had sold back to Earhart as a calf. She was nominated junior 2-year-old. We have one this year that I think looks phenomenal.
Well, Gus, you've done this a long time, and you've bred a lot of great cows, and you've led a lot of great cows, and your family's won a lot of ribbons. You know, one thing that makes it really fun is to get bulls into AI programs. Have there been any from this family in any major AI programs yet, Gus?
Not until you and Mike got involved.
So really the first bull, Gus, that'll be an AI from this cow family will be Judge. How do you feel about that? What's it mean for your family?
I think it's great. So we never really bred. We didn't breed things to get bulls in bull studs. I mean, we were always a little behind. I never jumped on nothing quick. Now, today with genomics, and the boys are a little more into it as far as they understand the genomics a lot better than me. It makes it a little easier to breed current cows. I mean, you don't mind using a bull that without a proof today with genomics. And where years ago, we weren't very current. I used bulls that had daughters fresh. So we were always behind years ago. I think the boys are doing a nice job, and it means a lot to us that you guys are fooling with getting some bulls into the bull stud. And I wish you all the best of luck.
I will tell you, Mike, you'll probably support me on this. Gus, you may be behind in some facets, but there's not much you're behind on at Peace and Plenty. I've known you long enough to know maybe you haven't put bulls in AI, but you've bred a great herd of cows. Boys, I don't know that I'd change much from what the old guy did, right, Mike?
No, I think you're doing a great job.
So, Mike, let me switch to you for a minute. The mother of Judge is a cow you and I and Milk Source own, Jubie 16. I'm going to let you talk a little to her because she lives at Duckett Holsteins, and you've been the guy that's taken care of her the past couple of years. Tell our listeners a little bit about the cow herself, the mother of Judge.
So Jubie 16, probably not a lot of people realize this, but I always watch the show results, and we're having a sale and was looking for top-notch consignments in 2022 in the spring. I've seen this King Doc Jubie 16 won at the Southern National. She ended up going from Texas in a large dairy up to Eaton Holsteins in New York. And then after our sale, we're itching to get out and buy a cow that we could do what Tim and I do as far as marketing a cow. And we thought, well, this is a good chance to get in. Flew out to New York, and evidently there was a lot of people seeing those pictures, because that's how the partnership of us and Abbott's and Milk Source got together, and we bought the cow. Came to Duckett Holsteins, and cow's done great for us. She works on IVF. Last year she was 4th at Madison, got nominated. She's had tremendous daughters and couple of bulls that we're putting in through the Showbox program. Recently, her first daughter we sold from her was junior champion at a big district show here in Wisconsin. A cow that hasn't really done us wrong. We're very excited to keep working with her.
It has been a fun ride with that cow since the day you and Julie flew to New York and spent the day watching the cow. And you told me how the cow eats and how she filled with milk and all that jazz. She has not disappointed. And Mike, I think, while she won't be at the shows this fall, we gave her a year off. I think when she comes back as a mature cow in 2025, could be a force to be reckoned with in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, she's a cow that's done everything that we've asked, and having some genomics and stuff with us starting up Showbox, it was a perfect cow for us to latch onto and market from. And her daughters make embryos, and we've been fortunate enough that she's due back early spring, and we'll probably look to have a big year out of her next year.
So Austin, you pay a lot of attention to bulls and sires and matings, all that. The Judge Bull is sired by Lambda out of the cow herself. Tell us what you think as a breeder about that cross.
When you really look out there, how many Lambda sons are out in AI, and just the Lambdas that are out, mammary systems are putting on. I mean, you go anywhere from your county fair to expo and see the ones that are the kind of ones that he has made and been making. You put that in combination with the kind of big, the Jubie kind of cow, as in big, strong, open frame. I really think it's I think it's going to be nothing but success, but it really gets interesting. And I think it's a phenomenal cross, and potential for some really neat offspring from that cross should be, it's going to be cool. I can't wait to see what it's going to be like.
Well, we sure hope at Peace and Plenty you'll find some non-Jubie bloodlines to use Judge on to make some cool calves for us.
So, Gus, what daughters bulls do you think this bull would work well on in most matings, in your opinion?
I think you'd be able to use him on tattoos and masters, and even get back into some older genetics. I'm thinking he'd work really good on like Solomon's. I didn't know what to think of Delta Llama in the beginning, because our oldest ones were fresh 3 times. It's actually a bull that I've gained a lot of respect for. They just constantly get better with age, and they turn into great old milk cows. I mean, I think these Delta Llamas, I think you're going to see them in the pedigrees of great ones in time to come. And I think the cross on 16 is great. I know there's a lot of people in this area can't wait for y'all to release a bull.
The sidekicks and some of these bulls that just need a little milk, Lambda will definitely add milk to a pedigree. With the way these bulls genomics are, I think there'll be some pretty logical matings on all those bulls.
So, Mike, that leads me to my next question for you, which you've got the paperwork in front of you. You talk about milk. It looks like we got a lot of milk coming through this bull. Tell us a little about what traits stand out the most on Judge when they see him in the Semex directory. What's gonna stand out to them?
You know, as we sit down to make matings for cows today, it's hard to find a bull that's 1,500 plus of milk and over 3 points of type and 2.5 points of udder, and a nice solid linear all the way through. Pins are in the right direction. The teat length is the right size. On top of that, under 2 points of stature, which that's been one of our things from the get-go here, is we wanted to make sure that We don't want to breed smaller cows. We want to breed cows that are maybe not quite as tall and more athletic and more width and depth to them. Those are the kind of cows that last a long time and do well at shows, and every farmer can appreciate those kind of cows.
Well, Mike, when our listeners look at the pictures that we put together for the flyers and pieces and videos on Jubie, there's a picture of you stand with Jubie in the middle of the show ring at Madison, and she's about a foot wide and her muzzle is as wide as any cow you'd see. You talk about strength and balance. Tell us a little more about Doc, and then I want to get from Gus how the family is that way too.
Jubie 16, we have visitors from all over the world here, and when people get down by her box stall, they just stop because she's the definition of dairy strength. She's so massive, wide-chested cow that always looks the same. To be honest, the cow's been milking 16 months right now, and she could still go out and choke him today. Just a cow that she's very persistent in her lactation. She'll give 125, 130 at the beginning, and she's still over 100 today at 16 months. Feed her, she makes milk. You take her to the IVF station, she makes you some embryos. It's just a pleasure to work with those kind of cows.
As Mike describes that, Gus, just give our listeners one quick, kind of synopsis of how you feel about the cow family. All those traits Mike talked about, do you see that not just in Jubie 16, but in other members of the family? You've had the halter of a lot of great cows in your career, showing great cows. Tell me why that's important to you and why that's part of Peace and Plenty.
Well, Mike just described the old black hat Jubie 16's dam. I mean, he described it to a T. Great big wide front end. When you look at her from head on, she's got a big muzzle, wide front end. She's just an extremely well-balanced cow with a great big cage. Never quit eating right up till the end. And we just lost her. We had to put her down. We just lost her last fall. And a cow up to the very end that she was tough. I mean, just a rugged, built, well cow. You knew she was going to be great to breed from. Cow that wasn't gigantic in stature. So I do see like the King Docs are bigger in stature than the Atwood ever was, but I do see a lot of resemblance as far as mass, width throughout, front end. So that is another thing the old Atwood had. She had a beautiful front end, a great big upstanding front end. When she was coming at you, she was pretty impressive. And it was a shame we lost the cow the way we did, but time takes care of everything. It was time. So Mike described the old cow to T when he was describing 16.
And I'll bet if we go back, one thing we didn't reference, guys, a lot. Gus, you talked about the old Clipper in the pedigree, but there was a 94-point Astrojet in front of her, and then there was an outside and a Stormatic all before the Dundee. So you talk about a good mix of bulls in there. I think that's why there's so much success with this family. There's good bulls for 7 generations behind this bull.
I agree exactly. And that Astra, I forgot to mention her. I mean, she was a pretty neat cow, though. Them Earhart boys, they weren't very tall. They were just little fellows. But I mean, tell you what, when they took her around the ring and them, because our 4-H shows in Maryland used to be big deals. Not that they're not now, but it was always, that whole family intrigued me when I was a teenager, and that's one of the reasons why we've worked with the Atwood so hard. And it's winding up. It's done us good. It paid off for us.
Well, guys, it's been a great discussion, but I think you've told them a lot about the cow family. I want to finish this discussion with you guys with a little bit of information. There's just been an announcement about what you're doing in the spring. Austin, you want to give us a little update on what Peace and Plenty is up to?
Yeah, big exciting news. March 15th, right here on the farm in Union Bridge, Maryland. We are going to host a sale with yours truly and also Mike. We're excited, to say the least. We've been talking about doing this for such a long time. Every year, we got a full heifer barn full of really nice Jubie offspring, and we're just thinking, this would be the year to do it. And we'll wait one more. We'll get it together next year, and we'll do it. And so I think we finally, you guys on board. I'm just excited for the lineup that we're going to have. I'm sure it's going to be incredible, and I hope everyone is ready to come to Union Bridge and see the farm, see the cows, and take something home, and hopefully have a big success. We're pumped. Have a party.
That is March 15th. Is that right, guys? March 15th is our date for that sale.
That's it.
And it'll be a fun weekend in Maryland because the interstate sale will be Friday and the sale at Peace and Plenty will be on Saturday. And Mike and I are planning some Showbox Sires is going to get some really fun entertainment from Nashville up for the weekend. Gus, what do you think about having this sale finally at your farm? You got any thoughts for our listeners?
Gotten ready for 3 weddings here at the farm over the years, and it's not a fun couple weeks beforehand. So I'm feeling like it's going to be rough on me, I tell you.
And Mike, do you think you and I'll be involved in marriage counseling to keep Gus and Lisa straight, or do you think we can get through this?
I think we can help him out. I think she's not that tough.
Well, she's got to be tough when she deals with the hooligans she deals with. But no, we invite everybody to Peace and Plenty. It'll be beautiful. It'll be a great day for the business. And certainly, Austin and Gus, we appreciate you being on. Mike, you got any parting comments for our listeners?
You know, we're Showbox Sires with more of a show ring catch to our bulls and stuff. But these Jubie sons, being 1,500 pounds of milk and 3 points of type and some functional health trait, the way the linears are and under 2 of stature, I think he's a bull that could work for every breeder, whether you're 50 cows or 5,000. Gus said the cows are tough in this family and they've lived in a lot of different environments. And I think he's a bull that you can use pretty much in any situation.
You know, you and I've talked when we came up with the vision for this, we wanted to breed cows like we're sitting around on a show box. Sitting here with these guys today and you, that's kind of what it felt like. We're talking about the fun things of this business, family, cow families, breeding cows. We hope you'll reach out to your Semex distributor around the world. This bull will be available to make calves here coming up in August. We hope that you'll take a little time and find 744 HO203 Judge to add to your breeding program and put the Jubie success into your herd. We thank you for listening to this edition of the Evolution of the Great Cow, the release of the Bull Judge. We look forward to talking to you on our next podcast.